Welcome to the Bad Mom Show, where we flip the script on shame, shed light on what's made you feel invisible, and take your story back. It is time to step into that bold, baddie mom you were created to be. Around here, BAD stands for blessed, already approved of, and divinely designed, because you are not a bad mom. You are a leader. You were chosen for your family on purpose. You are divinely designed and anointed as the heart of your home, and you can confidently own your mantle of leadership as a fiery woman to lead with boldness, not burnout. This is your space to reclaim the parts of your story that have felt like weaknesses and discover they were actually your superpowers all along. It is time to shine as a BAD mom. Are you with me? Let's go. Welcome back to another episode of the Bad Mom Show. I'm Teresa Todd, your host, and I am super excited about today's conversation because I have a very special guest for you who is going to glean a lot of wisdom. So whether you're out for a walk or you're in carpool line or you're just sitting down with your coffee, get ready to tune in because I am bringing you Lissa Figgins. Sorry, I don't know why I always want to say Higgins, Lissa Figgins. And she and I met at my friend's event last fall, and her message really resonated with me because I know we all can relate on this topic of feeling like we don't have enough time. And she has become an expert in this field, and she is going to teach us how to redeem our time. And I love your tagline. I'm going to let you say it at the end, but I just wanted to formally introduce you and welcome you to the show.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say, just for all the listeners out there, I am an extrovert because I figured out 101 ways not to do time. I was not the present mom. I was the mom who would be in the room, but not really in the room because I was cleaning out the toy bin while we were supposed to be playing, or I'm on my phone or on my laptop during movie night and things like that. So yeah, what we're speaking about today really goes so much beyond a calendar that I think we think is all going to fix the problem. And it really gets to the heart and the root of our problem with time. And maybe I can help shorten your learning curve so you don't have to make the mistakes that I did and miss out on that time with your kids.
I mean, are you not excited already? I'm like, yes, help me do that. Because deep
Let
down,
my hindsight
I know.
be your foresight. That's what I always say. Have someone a little further down the road in any given area of your life that you're like, what do I need to know that I don't know?
That is 100% true.
Yeah, especially as moms, right?
Yes. And if this is really, I feel like such an important topic. And I know we're all looking for the magic solution, but I know you're going to give us some nuggets today that everyone can apply to their life. Let me just share a bit about Lissa with you. So I love that she is sharing exactly from her experience. She says she's a former busyness owner who learned to unhurry her heart and release the need to control time, multitask, and always be doing. How many of us can relate to that? And now, as a scaling strategist, she helps the busy Christian business owner grow her revenue and results by multiplying the 24 hours she's been given rather than trying to manage them. That is such a big difference. And I love when you're not helping women lead with focus and impact. You like walking, talking, which we like to do over here, traveling, planning, reading, leading, and of course, lots of dark coffee and dark chocolate. You're my kind of girl.
I'm like a 90% girl, like anything less, and I'm tempted to take the second piece. But here's what I found. When you do 90%, you don't want a second piece. It's just enough. So that's my secret.
All right. I love it. I'm with you, girl. So let's get into it. So you nailed it on the head. All these things, you found yourself multitasking during family time, just distracted, really, not being present. What was it for you? Share a bit about your story that like really led you to want to pursue this and to realize this is something you needed to change personally and that you could help other women change too.
Well, long story short, it was a doctor calling me crazy that was my breaking point. So I'll back you up and get you to that place, right? So I remember the day I walked into that doctor's office and I was waiting for some results. And at that point, I didn't really know why I was having the issues I was having. But now looking back in hindsight, I can see I've always been a doer. I've never known how to not be doing. I don't know if anyone else is out there like that. I've always had a planner. Do you remember back in grade school? You guys probably have kids. They have the assignment notebooks. I don't know. Everything is Chromebook now or digital, so maybe they don't. But we had the assignment notebook. You'd write down the assignment. I was the girl who would write down the assignments she already did just so she could like have the satisfaction of checking it off to be like, I'm accomplished. Yeah, I've always had a to-do list longer than my arm. I've always had some project or goal or something I was working on. And if someone said do this, especially if it was an area of being a better mom or growing my business, I didn't make excuses. I just added it to the list, right? And that list keeps getting longer and the pile keeps getting bigger and all of that. But what happened for me was like all of that constant doing came at a cost. In order to keep up with it all, I had to pick up the pace, right? So I'm getting up earlier, I'm staying up later, I'm trying to fit in all those nooks and crannies, those things that I thought I had to do. And so I just kept going faster and doing more. I also found my value was tied to what I accomplished. So at the end of the day, it was what did I get done today, right? Which was either making me most of the time feeling less than. And then like I shared, I would be in the room, but not really in the room. And for me, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. I ignored what my body was telling me because who had time, right? We have the knot in the stomach or like, just kind of this tension, tightness in our shoulders. Of course, I had guilt in my head. I call it the guilt tug of war when you're when you're working on something, whether it's a business or a ministry or, maybe even doing something for somebody else, you feel this guilt. You're not with your family. When you're with your family, you're constantly in your head thinking about all the other things you have to do. For me, like I eventually literally felt a lump in my throat.
Wow.
Of course, I was too busy to do anything about it. I ignored it for over a year. And suddenly, I just told you that I just got together with my girlfriends. I'd gotten together with them. It had been a year and I hadn't done anything and it was still there. And so I promised them I'd get it checked out, saw a specialist. He tried some different remedies, finally put a camera down my throat. And this was the day I was sitting in his office. And he comes in and he says, okay, Lissa, good news. There's nothing growing in your throat, but, right, you have hystericus globus. And he sat there just looking at me with a smirk on his face. I'm like, what in the world is that? That sounds ridiculous. He said, globus means a ball. You have this feeling of a ball in your throat. And hystericus, and he starts scrolling his finger next to his head like you're crazy. He's like, you just have anxiety from everything you're doing. I'm happy to prescribe you a pill. And like I said, my doctor calling me crazy was my breaking point. And I knew in that moment, I'm not against medication for mental health in any way, shape, or form, but I knew for me, it was going to allow me to keep going at the pace I was. And God was trying to get my attention. And I wish I could say everything changed in an instant right there. It didn't, because doers die hard. But God did finally get my attention. And over the next few weeks and months, he started to show me that my busyness was not a disordered calendar, because if that was the problem, I had all the time management tools. It would have fixed it or kept it fixed. It was really my disordered heart. And as I look back now, I can see I was really chasing my not enoughness. It started with my time wasn't enough. So right, I'm picking up the pace, but then my doing wasn't enough. And then I wasn't enough. And it was this slippery slope I think so many of us go down. And that's when God showed me, like, Lissa, you have to slow down. You have to unhurry your heart. You have to stop trying to control everything about your time, and the people around you's time, right? And find your value in who I say you are, not just what you do. And so, yeah, it's been this process, since that time of like learning how to do less. And what's so interesting is when you do less of the right, but you are doing the right things, like you actually see more fruit in both your life and your business and your faith. Right. And so now, yeah, I'm on mission to help women. I call them busyness owners, right? So if you own a business or a ministry, or maybe you just are running a house and you just feel like you're always on the hamster wheel of doing, but not really getting to the end of the list or really accomplishing something or really seeing the return that you want, that's just a lot of busyness and it's exhausting. And I really don't think that's what we're called to as women, especially as believers. Time is a gift. Way too many of us are chasing the time we don't think we have, and we're missing out on the very opportunity that is contained in the time that's right in front of us. And so, yeah, this conversation has implications, eternally, as well as, in the relationships you're building with your kids right now while they're under your roof. Because I'm here to tell you, I'm an empty nest mom. My kids are now 27, 26, and 20, almost 23. Spread all over the country and starting families of their own. And when they're little, your busyness is physical. You're getting little people from point A to point B and hoping nobody gets hurt in between. When they grow up and move out, it's busy in your head and your heart and on your knees, just because, yeah, there's a lot of life happening. So we have to go, okay, then I can't say when the kids go off to school, I'm finally going to have time and then I can do all these things. Or when the kids, leave the house or whatever, we have to start addressing the time issue now. Because if we don't, it's not going to change. It's only going to get worse.
Ugh. all of that. Please just go back and re-listen to it because I'm
Right?
like, yes, yes, yes. I feel the conviction. But I really think you just spoke into every single woman listening because it's it's well intentioned even,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you said, like someone's like, oh, this is something you could do to be a better mom. Okay, yeah, I'll add that to my list. But it's never enough. And it becomes this, like you said, you realized it was how you were valuing your worth essentially by how much you could do or how well you did in a day. And unfortunately, I can totally relate to that. That sort of that, it's this tricky balance of you're driven, which is great, but now
Yes.
you've attached your worth to your doing versus who you are, who God created you to be. And that can be difficult to separate because it has such deep roots. And you mentioned even as a child, you can see where that had already been implanted with good intentions, but it's how we then apply it to our lives and sort of like the lens that we end up seeing everything through. So how did you begin? Because I know I can already hear
Hmm.
some wheels turning. How do I start doing that? Because we're already going to make it something else to do.
I know, right? Yeah. And I don't want
How
this
do
to
I
feel like
get
one
better
more
at? How do I
thing.
do slow down really well?
Yeah. The first thing I actually, as I've looked back on my journey and as I've worked with, thousands of women around this issue, so you're not alone if you're feeling the need for this right now. Again, I think so many of us, we want to jump into the planner. And while I did create my own planner and it's beautiful and it's
Ooh.
undated, so you are not behind, if it's like whatever date in the year it is that you're listening to this episode, you can jump in and start redeeming your time now. Which let me just share that real quick, just so everybody knows why. So Redeem Her Time is the name of the business that I have. And it really was literally born in the pew one day. I had walked into church, said hello to a friend, asked the very, simple question, how's your week been? And guess what word I heard?
Does it start with a B?
It starts with the B. I call it the B word, right? Yeah, busy, busy. Oh, just busy, staying busy with like that plastered smile on her face and
Yeah.
that knowing look in her
I'm
eye that,
fine, just
she's
really
like,
busy.
and I remember sitting down and we were actually going through Ephesians at that time. And so I promised I was paying attention to the sermon because we were in Ephesians, just in chapter 1, not chapter 5. But immediately I'd been praying that week, just Lord, what's the message? What is it you want women to hear? And after having that conversation with that friend, I just thought, is this what God has for us? We're just busy all day long and all our life. And what's that going to be on our tombstone? Wow, Lissa was busy. That's great. Not. And so I just was like, I don't think that's what you have for us. And immediately redeeming the time came into my head from Ephesians 5. So Ephesians 5:15 through 16 says, look carefully how you walk. We have to pay attention. Not as unwise, but as wise. Like there's a choice, right? Redeeming the time, where some versions say making the best use of it because these are difficult days. Amen to some difficult days. And so it's really from that place, literally the back of the bulletin, I wrote down redeem her time and that verse. And I started like coming from what does God say about our time? Instead of us, what is the world telling us that we should do with our time? And so I think that's really important because our time is the most beautiful gift that God gives us every day. And that's the first thing. So as I looked back and I started kind of going, how did I start shifting? How can you start shifting? There are 3 simple shifts you need to make. And like I said, they don't start in your calendar. They start in your heart. The first one is going from never enough time to I do have time, more than enough time. And that's that signature phrase that you didn't read on there is I end every podcast episode. So the Redeem Her Time podcast, I end every email, a lot of conversations. I say it in this exact way. You have time. Like, I think we have to start there because like I said earlier, we're always chasing the time we don't think we have. And yet there is time literally laid at our feet every single day. And I remember that same pastor was preaching through the Sermon on the Mount. And when we got to that part in the Lord's Prayer about give us this day our daily bread, I remember thinking most of us are not waking up in this day and age saying, where am I going to find my bread today? We're like, how do I not put any more carbs in my mouth today? Keep me away from the bread, right?
Right.
But
Right.
our pastor asked this one question. He's like, what is that one thing that you are dependent on God for every single day? And so immediately my radar as a time coach went, time. It's like our daily bread. It's literally like the manna that the Lord laid in front of the children of Israel. That was exactly what they needed for that day. And what's so interesting is they did the same thing we do. They compared and they complained. right? And if they would have just trusted who the giver of the bread was, right, and that he knew what they needed and that this was going to be enough, they could have saved a whole lot of time doing those things and actually gone and done something with what that bread was doing for them. And so I think it's the same thing with our time. Like when we keep saying, I don't have time, or some version of it, if I had time, when I have time, if only I had time, after this I'll have time, when the kids go back to school, when it's summer, when, we always kind of have this like, someday plan. We still all get 24 hours. I call it the great equalizer. You get 24 hours, I get 24 hours, every listener gets 24 hours. The differentiator is what we do with that. And if you ever want a reality check, you ready for this? Grab your phone, open up the screen time, and read that number out loud. The average person, get this, the average person spends 4 hours and 37 minutes a day on this one device. We know average means like some people are double that, even if you're half of that. What do you have to show for that time? Yes, there were probably some really good things that you did with that time, but probably a lot of it was, we all know, we're doom scrolling, we get wrapped up in something and time gets away from us. If you do the math on that over a year and you take out the time we should be sleeping, it's just shy of 100 days a year.
Wow.
Like a little over, a fourth of our life, and we say we don't have time. So we have to wake up to the fact that we actually do have time, and that time is not the obstacle to what God has given us to do. It's actually the opportunity to do that thing. Because if we didn't have that time, we wouldn't be doing the mom things. We wouldn't be doing the business things or the ministry things or whatever. So I'll kind of pause there before I tell you the second shift. But yeah, that first one is you have time. And so I hear women tell me all the time, Teresa, they're like, Lissa, I hear you in my head. I'll start going, I don't have time. And they're like, wait, no, you have time. And it just like slows you down to the presence of your time, which I think is the first step.
Oh, it's so good. I love all of this. Man, she said so many good things. I'm just trying to take some notes, but busyness is not what God intended for us. And I believe when you interviewed me, I was on your show. I said that we are a beloved, not a do-loved, but the world has. I mean, it's difficult to avoid this sense of like do more, be more productive. That's some measure of your worth or success or value. But that time truly is this gift. And you're right. It's like chasing this dangling carrot. Like we never can do enough to feel like we've fulfilled the time enough because of how we're thinking about time. And you really brought it back to that important piece that from out of the heart, everything else flows, and what we're experiencing and feeling and believing in our heart really does influence how we think. So I love that reframe that you teach women, and even making them say it out loud. I love that part, because it's not enough to just like think it in your head. If we want to, we're talking about rewiring our thoughts here, but truly, don't you believe if you're going to change habits, because it's become a habit to rush and be busy, it's ingrained in us now. Yeah. The only way to do that is to interrupt the cycle. And I love that, saying you do have time, and even my time is a beautiful gift.
Yeah. It's because otherwise, right, we're chasing the time we don't think we have. It's this elusive thing that it feels like it's always getting away, which actually leads to shift number 2. And that is that we are not supposed to manage our time. So right now, I just want to give permission to everyone listening who's been told or who has told themselves, I have to get better at managing my time. Girl, if I gave you a penny for every time that somebody told me that, or I said that, or I heard that, or I've heard other women say it, like, I think this is the lie that we've been fed, is that if I could be better at managing it, then I would fix my problems. Right? And let's be honest, time management is all over the place. And again, I was the poster child for time management. I was chasing all the time hacks and the tricks and the tips and the tools and things like that. But let me tell you something. So I'm a former teacher. I love a good definition because I think this makes so much difference. The word manage literally means to keep contained or under control. So how many of you feel like you get your time managed, quote unquote, right? It's all pretty in your planner. You got all your ducks lined up, and then literally all day long you're playing whack-a-mole trying to get everybody back in line. It's like it's like that woman, a person that works at a fast food restaurant and they're managing and they're behind the counter and they're literally running around all day trying to just keep people in line, and they're exhausted at the end of the day. And I think that's what so many, women feel, is like just, oh my goodness, all day long is just putting out fires, is reacting, is all of these things, because we're trying to manage to keep it contained and under control. Now, while that is not a bad thing, it is an exhausting thing, and it's actually not what we're called to. So I love pointing to scripture. So Matthew 25 contains the parable of the talents. I really think it should be called the parable of the servants because it had nothing to do with how much they'd been given, the number of talents. It had everything to do with their heart. So we all know that one guy was given 1 talent. First of all, before you feel bad for him, a talent is 20 years' wages. Take what you earned in 2025 times 20 and imagine somebody giving you a check for that. Like, wow. He actually had a lot. So don't feel bad for him. But what did he do with it? He literally went and buried it to keep it contained and under control. He managed it. He managed to keep it from getting away from him, right? And I think this is what time management does. I'm trying to keep my minutes, right, from getting away from me. And while there's nothing wrong in that, it also is a very tight control grip on things. And then look at the result of that. He had that talent and he went to give it back to the master and the master returned. But what was the master's response? Get away from me, you wicked and lazy servant. In other words, you were not doing what I gave you that in the first place for to do. It was not so you could go bury it and then go do something else and keep the robbers away. Not that that's a bad thing. But those other 2 servants, they understood that number 1, those talents did not belong to them. Right? It had been literally entrusted to them. This is not something that they made on their own. Somebody else was giving it to them and that they were stewards. And a steward is somebody who takes the responsibility for someone else's assets and invests them on their behalf, keeping their purposes in mind in order with the goal of expansion. So what did those 2 guys do? One of them got 2 talents. One of them got 5 talents. We actually don't know what they did with it. Like, it does not tell us. Like, the master told that first guy, you could have at least put it in the bank and earned interest. So I'm guessing they maybe invested it that way. They probably bought some fields and planted and harvested. They probably bought, sold, I don't know. But with both of them, they came back with double what they'd been given. They did expand, right? And when they brought that back to the master, he said, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with this. Like, let me trust you with more, right? And so I just love this idea that there's a fair response is management. I'm afraid of it getting away, so I'm going to tightly try to hold it together versus stewardship is okay, the goal is not for this to stay in my hands. It's coming through me to go invest in things that are going to expand the kingdom. And so I think that really gives us a whole different perspective on our time. My goal is not just to management. My goal is to invest it in places where it's going to expand God's kingdom. And that will happen in the fields that we're called to be cultivating right now, which is going to be your family, especially if you're a mom, right? It's going to be a business or a ministry. It's going to be your community or your home or your faith walk. These things are where we are to invest this so that it will produce even more fruitfulness for him. And here's the thing about it. I do believe that a healthy set, if you are truly understanding that you are a steward of something, you are not putting it under the mattress, right? Or you're not stuffing it, in a jar or something like that. You're okay, how can I intentionally invest this? So it does motivate a healthy sense of productivity and profitability. But it's all keeping in mind the bigger purpose behind it. And it involves a lot of faith because it's a risk to kind of sometimes put your time or your money or things like that out there, not guaranteeing what the return is going to be. But so that's, again, just that next shift is okay, I have been given this time. Now, is my role to try to keep this contained and controlled, to AKA manage it? No, it's really to invest it in ways that are going to expand the kingdom in the areas that God has put you right now.
Hey friend, I am so excited to share this with you. I am hosting my event, Awaken the Heart of Your Home, a spring session on Friday, May 1st here in Tampa, Florida. This gathering is something I wish I had years ago. It is a space where we can come together as women, as moms, and slow down. We get to leave the busy schedule at the door and truly create the space to get honest with ourselves and with God about where we're at in our season, what our dreams are, and what's getting in the way of us fulfilling them. This is your opportunity to be real, to hear from God in a personal way, and to walk away with greater clarity, conviction, connection with other like-minded women, and a bolder belief in your calling and purpose as a leader in your home. You carry a divine calling, and you were chosen for such a time as this. But the world keeps us busy and distracted, and we have lost sight of that authority. This is your time to reclaim it. We do this work together because we were created for connection, and we heal in connection. I kept it intimate though, so space is limited. If this speaks to you at all, I would love for you to reach out to me and I will share details with you. Again, it's happening on Friday, May 1st, with a welcome and worship the night prior, and it will most definitely change you. There is no way you will leave that room the same. I hope to see you there. I can't wait. Wow, that's such a powerful shift because I know there's a lot of us that pride ourselves on that color blocked calendar.
And that's not a bad thing,
And it's
right?
right. It keeps you in order. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But it's that shift of this is mine to manage versus this is a gift to steward. And it truly is. And I think that even touches on just the concept of being grateful that we have this time,
Yeah.
and that even for us moms with younger kids, that you have this time with your kids because, like Lissa just said, one day they will be gone out of your house. And how are you stewarding that time? Not to just be a great mom, but really, what is the purpose of your presence in your home, in your leadership? And I just, there's so many distractions nowadays, and comparison being such a big one that you also mentioned, that that we miss it. And
Yeah.
I love how you brought stewardship back to it. Fear says I have to control and contain, but truly love says I gave you this gift. Now go multiply,
Yeah.
use it for my good, right? And that's again like at the heart of it, what we want to do, but it's really separating. You can be productive and walk in purpose without it being this frantic, busy, never enough
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the fact that you talked about distraction. I truly believe that's the enemy's number one tactic, especially in this day and age. If he can keep us busy and distracted, we're of no threat to him and we're no use to the kingdom. Think about John 10:10. Jesus said, I have come to give life to the full. That does not mean a life that is too full. But the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I mean, even social media, like they readily admit our goal is to get your time and attention. The longer we can keep you on our platform, the more we're going to be shaping what you're thinking and what you're doing, whether that's a purchasing, a choice that you make or just some beliefs and things like that. I mean, I heard one time, I thought this was so interesting. Somebody was interviewing like the CEO of Netflix and they asked him, who is your biggest competitor? And do you know what he said? He did not say another streaming source. He actually said sleep. They want to keep you. How many of us, let's raise our hands, have binged that show way later than we should have? We should have already been in bed, and maybe you caved in and finally did go to bed before the end of the binge, or maybe you did stay up all the way through the whole thing. But this is the most precious asset out there, and retailers and some of these different platform developers and designers know that if we can get their time and attention, we can direct where their thoughts are going and then what kind of choices they're making. And so I think it's not saying like, I'm not a proponent of throw your phone out, I am very thankful. And I wish I had this when my kids were younger to be able to contact them. We had to do a little more old school, but back in the day, but yeah, there are a lot of really good things out of it. And yet I think we just have to be all the more aware, which is why Ephesians 5 says, look carefully, choose wisely, make the most of what you do have because the days are evil. Like we just have to remember that there's a lot that wants our time. And so that takes us to the third shift, which this one is also really, really simple, but this one is transformational. So if you don't hear anything else today, hear you have time and then hear this next shift. So many of us run around asking a certain question about our time. I'm going to kind of see if you might be able to kind of say, what do you think is the most common question that you are asking, whether it's coming out of your mouth or just in your head when you look at a clock on your computer or your watch or your phone or the wall and you notice the time? What do you think is the most common question?
Oh man, I was gonna say, how much more time do I have?
Okay, could be.
How much more can I do in the time that I have?
Okay, yeah, it's some version of what time is it, right? Like,
oh yes, that
and
too.
as soon
it's
as
already carpool time,
right? Exactly. As soon as that happens, like it's like you go into go mode. You're like, where do I need to be? What needs to happen? What am I already behind on? It's this like hustle hurry. Like I got to catch up to something. So from what time is it? Are you ready for this? To what is it time for?
Ooh.
Almost the exact same words, just different order. It slows you down. You can't answer that question really fast unless it's like, hey, it is time for me to get in the car right now because I have to get to pick up my kids, right? But what that question does is it slows you down not only to the presence of your time, which we already established, but to the purpose of your time. And this
Mm.
is where I think, especially for moms, especially when we've got lots of overlapping roles and things that are all kind of in the same, little space, we think that multitasking is our superpower. It is actually your kryptonite.
Mm.
It weakens your focus. No one and nothing gets enough of you to really make a difference. I mean, true story. My daughter was at the kitchen table working on math, not her favorite subject. Thankfully, I was a math teacher, so to a certain point, I could help her until she got beyond that. Like, I'm cooking dinner, so you know how that goes, where you're like boiling
Yeah.
the water for pasta or something like that. I'm like messaging a client, and if you know how that, you're voice texting it or you're typing it and it gets misspelled and you send it and you're like, my husband's walking in the door asking me a question. Like, Lissa's trying to do it all at once, and everything literally falls apart.
Right.
Yeah, so if you actually just slow down to, yeah, you know what? It is right now time to sit with my daughter and help her with her math homework instead of trying to just be in the room and, be available. Guaranteed that math homework will get done faster. And then you can go focus on what that next thing is. So I think being able to answer that question, is really it's an in a moment question. If you find the hustle hurry like kind of welling up in you, just slow yourself down and be like, you have time. Now what is it time for? Right? How am I supposed to steward this time that's in front of me right now and let go of all the other stuff? But I like teaching women how to ask that question before the day starts, or ideally before the week starts. And I teach my version of, because I don't believe in time management and time blocking is time management 101, right? I teach
Yeah.
something called time anchoring. And we have time anchor zones in our day. So think about what an anchor does, right? If you have a boat, unless it's just like a little rowboat, you probably invested thousands of dollars, so there's value, right? You don't want it like drifting down, the current or into somebody else's dock or something like that. So you attach an anchor. And that anchor keeps this really valuable thing in a defined space. But
Mm.
here's the thing. It's not like you have these really hard brick walls around it where it can't move at all. And then if the wind and waves come, what would happen? It would literally crash into a million pieces. You have a little bit of give, but it keeps it from drifting and keeps it like in that space. And so I think that's really the perspective we need on our time. How can I draw some loose, light boundaries around my time? Not the tight little time blocks that are all stacked up, and then we all know what happens. One gets off and then it's like, crash on the rush hour.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's a mess and everything is thrown off for the day. But how can I like have these spacious zones of my day where I know what it's time for? And I teach that every single woman on the planet, whether your kids are 2 months old or whether they're 22 or even, older than that, we need refills and we need pour outs. You have to refill your cup before you pour out. We all know it, but yet do we really do it, right? We all have to put our oxygen mask on first is another way that, we say that. So where in your day, especially as you start your day, and I like to say even as you end your day, are you really refilling body, mind, spirit? Because if you are not doing those things, you will not be an effective mom because you will be running on empty.
Yeah.
And no matter how much you want to pour out into your kids, if you didn't go fill, the jar and your kid comes to the back door on a summer day and it's like, Mom, I'm so thirsty. Can I have something to drink? You're like, sorry, I've got nothing. You can want to pour into their cup, but you can't, right? So we need those refills. And then we have pour outs. And some of our pour outs are around our family and household, particularly like think about the before school time, right? What needs to happen to get the day going and get everybody where they need to be? And then maybe you drop them off and now you've got this pour out time where you're like taking care of your home or you're building your business or you're running a ministry or you're serving your community, right? What does that time look like? So it actually gets time. And then it's time to shift back into time to pick up the kids, get dinner, get everybody to activities. So now I'm not trying to squeeze in all the business ministry stuff. Now I'm focused on pouring out into my family and household again, get everybody to bed. And then we should not be scrolling till whatever time. We should not be sending one more email or folding one more load of laundry. Like you do need time to like put the phone on the charger and refill and recharge yourself. So that way you're ready for the next day. And so it's really creating these rhythms in our day and then in our week so that we have these time anchor zones and we know like this is what it's time for. So I don't have to feel guilty when I'm spending time on my business because I know that I'm going to have this time set aside when my kids are going to get my full focus, right? And vice versa.
Oh, that's so good because I know like the what is it time for really does help because I know that, just full transparency, driving to carpool, I'm like, okay, what else can I do right now? What could I listen to? Who could I
Mhm.
respond to? Like not holding the phone, but sending a voice
Right,
text,
Siri?
But, it's like we're constantly driven to add one more thing. And it's living in a stress mode with cortisol and adrenaline, and you're completely just fumes
Yeah. And
And
we don't have buffer. I mean, like, what if you
uh,
just used your drive time as just being quiet
yes,
and not having to talk to anyone or produce something? So that way,
yes,
when your kids do get in the car, you're like fresh and ready to pour out. Or maybe use it to listen to some worship music. Or maybe you listen to a really good podcast that's going to inspire you. But yeah, I think we need to build more buffer into our days. I think we just go like literally everything is like right to the next thing, and we're gleaning to the edges. And even in scripture, they talked about don't glean to the edges. Leave some space around your fields that you don't go all the way to the edge, because there are going to be people that need it. And how are
yes.
we going to respond in the way we want to? Yeah. I mean, watch how you. Okay, here's a great test. If you don't think that you are a time controller, watch how you respond when someone intersects or interrupts your plans.
Ooh,
Right? I mean, what fills the like you said, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Right? What is coming out when and it may be like you had great intentions and that was a really good thing that you were planning to do, but do we have the ability to to be able to adapt and adjust and to respond instead of react, and trust that it's okay if that thing didn't happen right then and there. That we can still, if it still mattered, we can find another time for that, because right now you're making a decision to say this thing matters in front of me. So we've got to, be aware of that. That could be a really good test.
I love that test. And I mean, everything that you're talking about is coming back to truly like this heart level curiosity with yourself, not to be, hard on yourself if you notice, oh man, like I really have attached a lot of my worth to how much I can do in a day, or man, I really do compare myself to how other moms do it, and I really don't feel like I'm enough. I don't feel like I'm doing enough. And those are all such wonderful clues
Yeah.
to how you can start to shift. Do you find, because I love this idea of, interrupting our cycles and rewiring the narrative to say, yes, I do have enough time. Time is a gift. Like I steward my time well. And the what is it time for versus what more can I do in this time? Because do you find even with your clients that they'll put off the thing I don't want to say productive,
Mhm.
the purposeful action and fill it with busy action because of what? I mean, it could be
Yeah.
multiple reasons. It's easier. It feels good that I did like five things instead of the one thing I should have done.
Yes. Oh my goodness. We have this conversation all the time. I just had a coaching call with some of my clients and we were talking about something they all know this one activity in their business is going to really give a good return on time invested because it's actually connecting with human beings. Like that's one of my pet peeves with business owners. Everybody wants the automated button. And I think
Yep.
you should have things that are automated and that are going out to the masses, whether via email or social or things like that. But there's something about some human connection and just picking up the phone and leaving a voice text for somebody. It takes like 20 seconds.
Mm,
So anyway, we were having this conversation and we were talking about that. And yes, very often if they are feeling unsure, unsecure, there's not a guaranteed outcome for this. I could possibly be rejected. It feels like it's going to take a lot of time. We kick the can down the road and then we go for the I can do this and check a box and it feels really good. So
right.
one of the key things that I think any mom, any business owner, any ministry leader or community leader needs to really evaluate is your ROTI, ROTI. Okay, now let me tell you what this is. So you all know if I were to say ROI, you know
Right.
exactly what I was talking about. So it's
Right.
the same
Yes.
thing that you would do with money that you need to do with time. Okay, so time and money are so parallel, except you can't make more time if you invest it, unwisely, but it's okay. Life is not over. But here's the thing. You would never go invest $1,000 in some whatever and not look at what kind of return on investment you're getting and let that information direct and shape if you're going to continue that investment or if you're going to change things, right? Or remove that investment. Like we all would do that. And you probably pay somebody to do that for you, right? To be like, hey,
Right.
invest this for me and show me what the return is. And let's make some strategic decisions about, if that's the best place to have my money right now. Well, most people don't ask that question about their time, and yet time is actually a more precious asset than money. And so, are you, really looking at not only what am I spending time on, but what is the fruit of that? Right? Just like with money, you can waste time, which means you got nothing. You can spend time, like I checked a box and it felt good in the moment, but probably didn't change a whole lot. Or I can invest time, and an investment is always going to bring back more in return. Right. So pay attention to what is the roadie of this thing. Yes, there are a lot of good things you could be doing, but what would happen if you did less of the low roadie things and you actually focused your time on the high roady things, that this is how less is more, and it ends up taking less time and gives more results. And really, here's where it comes down to some strategy around like, okay, I do only have 24 hours in a day. I'm not complaining in that way, but I'm seeing the preciousness of it. What are the best places for me to invest? For example, this conversation is a really good use of my time, right? I could have spent all this time on social, hoping an algorithm was going to show my content to all these people,
Right.
we all know it goes away in like 24 hours, right? So, or I can sit down and have this conversation with you. And now this goes out to your audience who not only hears it the day it comes out, but also down the road, and they may come back to it. And then they come grab the gift I'm going to give them at the end. And then they come into my world, like this is a high roady activity. So start thinking about like, not just where am I spending time, but what is the result? Because where you are in any area of your life, whether it's your faith walk, a relationship, your health, your business, your ministry, even your home, is the result of how you have invested or not invested time up until this point. Wow. So I loved earlier you used the word curious. So get curious. Think, for example, your health. Like maybe you don't love the number on the scale, even though it's not just about the number on the scale, but we're just going to call that one out. Okay, so just get really curious. How have I been investing time in my health up till now? Good news is that all I have to do is change how I'm investing my time moving forward, and I will get a different result. Yeah. Because our time always produces a roadie. We just have to pay attention to if it's taking us in the direction we want to go or if it's not.
So good. I'm totally using this roadie. And I'm sure you have to share this with your clients too, it's not a one and done. It's not an overnight fix. You're literally changing patterns that have been established in not just your head, but in your body. And I love that you brought the body into it earlier, because we have gotten really good at ignoring the signals that our bodies give us.
Exactly.
There's so much information about like what's driving me right now. Is it anxiety? Is it fear? Or am I excited? Is this purposeful? I feel aligned. And I just think that is such an important key to bring into your curiosity, and to really think about the return on that time investment. I do love that, because it can feel good because you can do it to clean the house, but your kids just come home and wreck it again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. How can we hit the same goal maybe in less time or in a way that's going to last a little bit longer? Makes all the difference, right? And here's where like it really does. I truly believe that time is your most valuable asset, because this is what's going to either move you in the direction you want to go or not. And so we have a choice. We can live by design, which means we are making intentional decisions with the Lord about where we're investing our time, or we can live by default, because the reality is every single minute of your life, if you didn't choose where it went, somebody else or something else chose for you. And so we then need to look at, okay, what am I going to do? And here's one thing I also want to say. I've been having this conversation lately. I'd love to hear what you think. A lot of women are talking right now about capacity. And I hear a lot like, oh, well, she's high capacity, I'm low capacity. And I'm like, I understand like the sentiment, but I think our capacity is, I have 24 hours, right? We all have 24 hours. So I truly believe we all have the same capacity. It's what makes the difference is what we fill those 24 hours with, and the order in which we fill that. And so actually in the gift I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to show you how order determines capacity. When we let the Skittles of our day fill up our day, there is not room for the oranges. We all know the difference between a Skittle and an orange. They may both look pretty, but only one is really going to do anything lasting, right? And this is how so many of us live, especially as moms. We've got so many Skittles being poured in from every direction of all the things, the ring-a-ding pings and all the requests and all the things we could do, and, the Pinterest mom ideas and all the things. Sure. And then we go to try to put in those things that matter, like our time with the Lord, time taking care of our body, our taking care of our home, investing in the people around us. It just feels like we're always out of time. So what would happen if you actually put the oranges in first? And it's actually a really beautiful thing. It's like the river rocks and the pebbles, if you've ever seen that illustration. So I love doing this with my oranges and Skittles, because when I put the oranges in, this is great. Your moms will love this. I put the oranges in my container, and just a minute ago, nothing fit because there were too many Skittles. And I'm like, look, all the oranges fit. All 8 areas of your life fit in here. And everybody looks at me like, Lissa, but my life has Skittles. You don't understand. So I take that same jar of Skittles and I pour them in, and it literally just fills in around, and it doesn't even go over the top. There's actually a little bit of space. And a minute ago, literally, it was not all fitting in the jar because it had everything to do with the order. So start thinking about, is this an orange or is this a Skittle? I mean, there's a really simple way to evaluate before you quick say, say yes to something is this going to matter, a year from now, a month from now, a day from now, an hour from now, or is it not? And make some choices around that. And so when you learn to plan your time using the time anchors, I'm going to teach you inside the gift I'm going to give you, which is the time anchoring method guide. It helps you plan an impactful day. And I'm going to help you identify your oranges and your Skittles. And then you're going to take those oranges and say, okay, which of these time anchor zones does this fit in? So that way I know it's already in there and I don't have to worry about it ahead of time or afterwards, because when it's that time, I'm able to give it that time. And yes, life happens. Sometimes you have to move it somewhere else, but guaranteed, if you already had a plan, you can just move it somewhere else versus like I drop the ball again and again and again, which is
Right.
kind of how we beat ourselves up, right? Because that's what
Totally.
happens.
Oh, I love this. You're so great at using visuals. And I know that everybody is like, yeah, I can remember the boat and the anchor. I can remember the Skittles and the oranges. I can remember
Right?
these things. Yes.
Yeah.
These are practical tools. And again, this is something that everybody, because we're all human, we all have the same capacity. We all have to be more intentional about, especially because, like, I love that you quoted the scriptures. I love Ephesians 5, and that truly it is a choice. And that if we don't choose for ourselves, somebody else will, how that time is getting spent. So I can't wait for your freebie. Would you like to share some details with us and then how people can find you? Because I know women are like, I need her. I need to
Yeah.
work with her like
Yes.
yesterday.
Yes. So, okay. So, the freebie you can find at redeemhertime.com/anchor. Okay. We're thinking, remember the anchor. It's all I have to remember. And this is going to help you to anchor your time and plan a day that like your time is actually making an impact, not just surviving, right? Not just, we're not looking to tread water, right? And so I'm going to teach you how to use the time anchor method, how to stop reacting to your day and start leading your time, which is really important, especially as moms. We're going to dive into that order determines capacity, the oranges and the Skittles, what are time anchor zones, and then how do we measure the roadie. And I promise this isn't going to be another to-do list that makes you feel bad. Like, this is going to eliminate the guilt and have you go, oh, okay, my time does have value and it is, being invested wisely and I'm seeing the fruit of it, which helps us keep going. So redeemhertime.com/anchor. And then I love hanging out on the Redeem Her Time podcast because just like you said, you can pop it in while you're going for a walk, while you're in a pickup line, while you're washing dishes, and whatever those things are. Sometimes I grab my journal because I want to take notes on something, but we have conversations around time and faith and life and business and how does all of this work in a messy world that's pushing us to always do more faster, and things like that. So yeah, you can find it any podcast platform, Redeem Her Time podcast. Yeah, it's out there anywhere. So
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. And all this is going to be in the show notes. And you work one-on-one with clients as well, right?
I do. Yeah. So I've got coaching programs for women in business. I've got a lot of once we fix the heart and the head and the thoughts around our time, then we do need the schedules, the systems, the strategies to make the most of that time, especially if you're a mom. And so say you want your window to be while they're at school, how can we maximize that time without burning you out so that you are seeing a lot of results and things like that. And then I do one-on-ones because I've got people who are in all different ages and stages of life and business or momhood or things like that. And they're like, Lissa, my time is just always feels like this big bowl of spaghetti and I'm just trying to untangle it all. Can you help me, kind of map this out? So I do some one-on-one strategy sessions to say, okay, let's look at what's getting your time right now, what's not, and let's make some important decisions about what we're going to do. So yeah, you can go to redeemhertime.com and find out more about those if you're interested.
Ah, you're amazing. I told you a wealth of wisdom for you today. And I just love that you really do. I just feel you gave people hope today, that they're not the only ones, but that there's also a different way, a way to shift our perspective about time and our relationship with it. And then that truly will impact our relationships in our families, in our businesses, because I know there's a lot of moms that are trying to fill that school day with business things.
Right.
And honestly, with ourselves. You spoke a lot about things that are from the heart and that are rooted in our beliefs about who we are and who God created us to be. So this is a beautiful journey if you'll get curious and take Lissa's advice. I love it. You do have time. Start saying it out loud. You do
Right?
have time.
Yeah.
And what is this? what was the second one I
What
wrote?
is it time for?
What is it time for? I love that too, because there's a lot of things you could fill your time with, but what is it time for? Please, all of you, go to her website, download that free gift. And you are so generous. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And absolutely go find her podcast and find her on Instagram and all the socials. I'll link all of that in the show notes. Is there anything else? Any last thoughts you have for our
Yeah,
listeners?
I think I just want to say, like, it's okay if you have a plan and things don't go as planned. Like, I just want you to know, like, it's one of those things, like, yes, you can come at it with the right heart. You can come at it as a steward. You can come at it with all the things we talked about today. And I'm just going to tell you right now, it isn't going to work out 100% the way it looked on paper. And so I just want to give you that permission and grace with yourself to just say it's okay. But I guarantee when you are being intentional with your time in this way, because you understand the value of it, your role to steward it, and the bigger purpose behind it, yes, things will come up and happen, but guess what? The more you're intentional about it, those distractions and things that typically would have thrown you off won't be quite so, reactive anymore. And even if they are, even if that happens, you've got something to come back to, right? Remember that anchor is still attached somewhere. And so it's going to draw us back, even if we drift a little bit further than we wanted to. And we are able to just kind of reset, and I always tell women, like, the sooner we can catch those things before it derails our whole day or a whole week, right? Or, that was a year of whatever, like, let's just, like, really do that, like, looking carefully part and saying, okay, how can I come back to the things that matter and to what God's called me to do at this time? So just expect that it's not going to look perfect and pretty, and it's okay. That's why we need support. That's why you need voices like Teresa in your ear that are encouraging you and helping you to keep going. So.
Ah, so good. Wasn't that freeing? Yes. Just give yourself a break, right? It's always a return. It's come back again. Even if it's multiple times a day, you have that opportunity and it will get easier. I love that so, so much. Lissa, you are a treasure. And I love all the wisdom you shared with us today. And I really hope all my listeners will go out and find you. Not only download your podcast and your freebie, but really reach out to you personally, even just to say hello. Lissa is very good at responding because she is all about human connection, which I love. You're great at that. And we need more of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what's going to matter in the end, right? Was our relationship with the Lord, loving the Lord with all our heart and loving our neighbor as ourselves. And so if we can focus our time in those two areas, we're doing well.
Amen to that. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, make sure you're subscribed to The Bad Mom Show, and new episodes drop every Wednesday. I will see you then.